Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 129. Today's episode is an audio blog, and it is an oldie, but so good, and I was excited to revisit it. Today's audio blog is all about nurturing your gifted toddler and the different things that you might recognize as kind of early indicators that your toddler might be gifted, and then different things that you can do about it. I hope it encourages you if you are raising a young gifted kiddo. And as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me through the contact form, which you'll find at the show notes at the end of this episode. Okay, I hope you enjoy this, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it. We'll get right on with it after a word from today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Science Unlocked, the brand new science curriculum from Home Science Tools that I've been talking about for the past couple weeks. But I wanted to give you an update because we've been using it in our homeschool for these last couple weeks, and we are loving it even more than I thought we would. So my kids have been doing the Hungry for Change kit, where they do experiments with mealworms and learn about their life cycles and their eating preferences and some of the really cool things about them. And what's interesting about this kit and the choice that my kids made on it was that we have worked with mealworms before. I wrote a book about backyard science activities, and there's a whole section on different experiments that you can do with mealworms. And the ones in this kit are different. They're ones that we've never done before, and we're learning so much together. And my younger kids are sharing the student workbook and are taking turns scribing for one another, which has been a really good lesson in collaboration. And again, it's just so convenient to have this self-contained curriculum that includes all of the materials for the experiments that you're going to do, with the exception of a few minor things that you would find around your house anyway, all in a box together. In fact, the Hungry for Change box even used the box. We cut a flap off the box to use in one of the experiments. It was just perfect. And we're loving it. So I think Science Unlocked is the perfect curriculum for neurodiverse families because it allows you to go in, follow their interests, let them get some say in what they're going to choose and what topics they want to study, because you can pick and choose the different options, and depending on the level, the options stretch for a couple weeks to many weeks. And the other thing that I love about it is that it's easy to take the different levels and move them up a little bit or down a little bit. So definitely the ones that are geared for high school kids are more in depth and have kind of a deeper expectation of the knowledge. Yet there are still ways to pull the material down to younger kids. And likewise, some of the topics that are meant for younger children can easily be expanded upon, and you can dive deeper with children who are more capable or more interested or just older. And so it's been a really good fit for our neurodiverse family, and I know that for other families like mine out there, it's going to be a great fit. So Home Science Tools and Science Unlocked have been generous enough to give us a coupon code for Raising Lifelong Learners listeners, and it's good now through the end of August. So the coupon code is RLL30, and that gets you 30% off your first Science Unlocked kit. And I just know that you're going to love it. So check it out. Even if you just get one kit using that coupon code, your kids are going to benefit from it. And I think that it will ease some of your decision fatigue in your homeschool year coming up, because you'll be able to turn that over to your kids and say, which one of these topics looks interesting to you? Just pick one. We're going to give one a try. So check it out, Science Unlocked, over at homesciencetools.com. And there's also a link to it over in the show notes page. All right, let's get on with today's episode. Nurturing your gifted toddler. The pediatrician looked up from his checklist and asked, "How many words can she say?" And I kind of looked at him funny. It's okay if she's not saying a lot right now. She's only 18 months. Don't panic. Language will develop over the next few months and years. He smiled reassuringly, and I stammered, No, it's not that. I just don't think I can actually count the words she can say, so I'm not sure how to answer your question. She can say anything you or I can say. I could tell that not only didn't he believe me, but he thought I was one of those moms. Like I was trying to make my kid seem more than she was. And I couldn't blame him, really. Molly looked like a typical toddler, running her fingers along the multicolored shape stickers on his desk, humming softly to herself. And then she stopped, turned, and spoke. Dr. Catanzaro, why do you have 2 parallelogram stickers on the desk when you only have one of every other shape? Shouldn't you only have one of those? Or maybe you can add another of each of the other shapes to make it even. I don't really like when things aren't even. And do you have any more of those stickers? Can I have some? I like shape stickers. The pediatrician, Dr. Catanzaro, looked at me, mouth agape, and said, I have colleagues with whom I've worked for over 20 years who can't pronounce my name that well. I guess she really can talk. And he made some notes on his checklist. Parenting gifted children can be full of uncertainty. Should I push her? What if I don't give him what he needs? Do I need to get her tested? How do I know for sure? Here's the thing. You do know. You are an amazing, insightful, and perfect parent for the little guy or gal in front of you. Nurturing a gifted toddler is an adventure. So let's develop a roadmap to help you along the way. What does a gifted toddler look like? If you're listening to this, you probably have a general idea about what a gifted toddler looks like, right? We parents know our kids, no matter how much we collectively doubt ourselves. There are some traits, though, that can give you a clue you might just be raising a poppy kiddo. And you can find support in parent groups on Facebook and in other places. Remember, all gifted kiddos share some characteristics, but the very defining one, asynchrony, means that they definitely don't look alike. So your child may not exhibit all of these traits. It's kind of a checklist of sorts to give you an idea of some things you might notice if your toddler is gifted. You may recognize some of these traits. As infants, your kiddos became fussy if they faced the same direction for too long. They were very alert and wide-eyed as babies. Your toddler seems to need way less sleep than others his or her age, and did as an infant as well. He or she met milestones like walking, rolling over, and talking dramatically ahead of schedule. Some gifted babies and toddlers may have spoken later than most kids, but used complete sentences once speech began. They expressed an acute desire to explore, take things apart, put things together, and understand their environment. They often mastered their toys and games earlier than children their age and discarded them for new toys and games. He or she was very active and could be impulsive and intense. They often could tell between fact and fiction early on. They're concerned with big issues early on. Some gifted toddlers show an intense interest in numbers, letters, or other concepts. Some of our gifted toddlers will read early. That precocious 18-month-old in the opening story taught herself to read by 3. Some won't, and that's okay too. My oldest kiddo, who has been identified as profoundly gifted, didn't read until much, much later, and still chooses to read books below his age level. Hey there, I just want to take a minute and tell you a little bit more about the Learners Lab because we've had some questions and you hear me talk about it on here, and you've probably seen some posts or some articles on social media or on the website, and you might have some questions. The main question that we have been getting is this a community for my kids? Is this classes for them? Is this a community for parents? And I want to let you know that there's no other community out there like this because it really is for both of you. So in the Learners Lab, your kids get teaching on all sorts of social and emotional skills. We focus on one skill a month. We talked about worry in the past and confidence and all sorts of other things. We also do a live creative thinking class where we have learned visual spatial skills, problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, and all sorts of other types of thinking skills. And then we also do a live meetup where kids can see each other face to face. We've played games in there. We have learned about different kinds of social skills. We've also done virtual digital escape rooms and learned card games and different things like that. So it's a lot of fun, a chance for quirky kids to connect with other quirky kids that might be like them or might be different, but learn tolerance and learn how to appreciate others' gifts and quirks and interests and diversities. And then, aside from all of that stuff that we offer for kids, that is like kind of a smorgasbord. You can pick and choose what fits your family the best. Even one of those things is worth the time spent in there for your kiddos, but you have these different options. But on top of that, there's a whole separate forum that's private for parents, mostly moms right now, but dads are totally welcome. It's a place where you can ask questions about the things that you are learning about your kids' neurodiversities. A place where you can go for support, you can have conversations, you can ask homeschooling questions, you can ask parenting questions. We do a live event every single month for parents, whether it is a masterclass or a Q&A where I get on and I answer all the questions you have in as much time as it takes to answer those. And then there's also kind of access to me all the time. You can drop a question in there. I'll usually come in and answer. You can private message me in there. And then there's a whole bonus library that's full of past talks that I've given, resources that I've created, just different things that you can pull from to serve your family in the way that is best suited for your family. And so it's kind of a combination of a place for parents of neurodiverse homeschooled kids to get support, as well as a place for those homeschooled neurodiverse kids to find other kids like them and to get learning and activities enrichment that feeds their brains in a way that is not typically touched on in the general curriculum. So it's kind of all of the above. Now, enrollment is closed right now, but here is the kind of secret thing about getting on the wait list to find out when enrollment is going to open again. We typically open enrollment 3 times a year, and the reason for that is so that we can really focus on our new members and help our old members welcome our new members, our current members welcome our new members, and get them acclimated and involved in the community without having a couple new people like every single day, here and there. And so everybody kind of comes in at the same time in like a cohort, so to speak. And so we can get everybody acclimated and involved with one, big push for effort and really serve them well. And if we were doing that all the time, it would really kind of split our efforts and it would make it difficult to serve everybody throughout the months. However, if you're on the wait list, every once in a while when we've got something special going on in the community that might be of benefit to your family, we will throw an email out just to the wait list that says, hey, this is something I'm not sure you want to miss. You have been expressing interest in joining the community. We're not opening till September. However, if you want to join just for the month and try it out, or you want to join, for the year while you get a chance, we'll open enrollment just for waitlist members for like a 24-hour period when something is coming up so they can get a chance to get in on it. So if you're not on the wait list and it's something you're thinking about or interested in, go over to the show notes page or just the website and click the big button that says Learners Lab and sign up for the wait list. Otherwise, we're opening the membership again in September to kick off the new school year. And so we hope you join us then. Okay, let's get back to today's episode. What are some of the challenges that come with raising gifted kids? Gifted toddlers, like all gifted individuals, are asynchronous. This asynchrony gives you a kiddo who might be intellectually ready to solve problems and build things, but who lacks the fine motor skills and planning to be able to pull it off. One of the biggest challenges is to find activities that are age appropriate, but still advanced enough for a gifted kiddo. Though an often underestimated challenge can be the puzzled, judgmental, and knowing looks that come from family, friends, and strangers. The challenge of being misunderstood or accused of hothousing or pushing your child to perform. My friend compared raising her young, profoundly gifted daughter to being stapled to a cheetah. She's just holding on for dear life as that little bundle of inquisitiveness drags her along for the ride. And the intensity. Oh boy. Gifted kiddos, including your precious toddler, can be very intense. Those intensities can be emotional, high highs, low lows, and a mixture of both at the same time with extremes and complexities. Physical, those big emotions can take on physical symptoms with our bright tots, tummy aches, headaches, and more. Behavioral, shyness, separation anxiety, overconfidence, being too comfortable with strangers, ultra impulsiveness, deep inhibition, the list and contradictions goes on. Gifted toddlers can have deep fears and anxieties. They feel guilt, concerned about death, like they're not in control, and can seem deeply thoughtful or depressed. They can have deep emotional ties to people, places, or things. How do you nurture gifted toddlers? The best advice I can give after raising 4 toddlers, gifted and twice exceptional, is to relax and trust your gut. Really. Forget about what everyone else says. Forget all the parenting books. They're not going to apply to you anyway. Forget about what's normal. Follow your kid. Meet your child where he or she is and help them find new ways to learn every single day. It's exactly what all parents do for their toddlers. It just looks a little different for parents of gifted toddlers. One of my oldest's first words was Macedonia, as in, let's go to Macedonia to watch trains. He was obsessed with trains. He watched kid shows and documentaries and old newsreels about trains. He listened to books about trains. He knew the history of the railroad and all the different important trains from all of history before he was 4. He couldn't yet read. He barely drew. He was impulsive and inattentive at his daycare. He wouldn't sit still unless someone was sharing something about trains, though not the kids' trains with faces. He had no use for those. This went beyond a little guy's interest in trains. He needed to know it all. So we fed him books, movies, toys, and trips to the train yard in Macedonia. We sat by the tracks for hours, waiting for one train to pass, sharing snacks and train stories. Today, he doesn't remember all that he once knew, but he still adores trains and used to get together with my father-in-law and his train buddies regularly to work on model railroad layouts and talk about the good old days of the steamers. I didn't worry about meeting his potential, and I didn't feed him flashcards and workbooks. But guess what? I did shower that precocious little girl with workbooks, worksheets, and flashcards as a toddler. That 18-month-old who stood but a minute off the floor as she peered at the pediatrician and asked for shape stickers adored nothing more than sitting at her desk, a tot-sized table in the kitchen, and banging out workbook pages. She taught herself to read by 3. She cried at 2 when she realized she was not getting on the big yellow school bus with her brother. So we enrolled her in a 2-year-old preschool that met one morning each week, and she begged for more school. So we signed her up for another day at a different preschool so she could have 2 mornings of school and 3 mornings of homeschool while Big Brother was gone during the week. Many accused me of hothousing that kiddo, pumping her full of info so she seemed smart. But I was just trying to keep her insatiable thirst quenched. 2 gifted toddlers, 2 very different needs. If I were to have given that first one workbooks and flashcards, he would have rebelled and fought me every step of the way. If I were to have only fed the second one books, videos, and trips to a favorite place, she would have withered. Trust yourself that you know your toddler better than anyone else does, and give him or her exactly what they need. Explore language and numbers, science and nature, communities and laws together. Ask loads of questions and answer all of theirs. Make it a point to look up answers together sometimes. It's important from early on that your gifted kiddos see that you don't have all the answers and that you're not afraid to admit it. Play lots of music in the house. Take your little ones to free outdoor concerts and performances during the spring and summer so they can get an early appreciation for the arts. Experiment with as many different types of art mediums as you can with them while they're young. Buy open-ended gifts for all occasions. Line your walls with books. Play games early and often. Ask for family memberships to museums and zoos instead of toys your gifted kiddo will lose interest in for holiday gifts from relatives. Remember, you're the perfect parent for your gifted kiddo. You really do know what your child is capable of and needs. You may be in for a wild ride now that you find yourself raising a gifted toddler, but it's never dull. And when your little one shows what he or she is capable of, whether it's to a stunned pediatrician, a family member, a friend, or a stranger on the playground, It's okay to puff out your chest and say that, yes, you do know how amazing he or she is. Talking in full sentences at 18 months is fantastic. Reading at 3 is amazing. Knowing the detailed history surrounding all steam, diesel, and maglev trains by 4 is awesome. Be proud and let your kiddos hear you say that they're amazing and that you're absolutely amazed to be their parent. The more you get used to it now when they're toddlers, the easier it'll be as they get older and need to hear you bragging about them. You've got this. Well, there you have it. What do you think? Are you ready to kind of take on the reframing of weaknesses into strengths and helping your kiddos see their superpowers so they can see the superpowers in each other? I hope so. And if you have a question about that idea, or if you've got some other suggestions for how to help talk to your kids about siblings with anxiety and other neurodiversities, I'd love to hear it. You can reach out through the contact form at raisinglifelonglearners.com/contact. And over on that contact form, you can either send me an email or you can click to leave me a voicemail. You can also find a link to the contact form and any resources related to the conversation that I had today, along with a link to the place to send me a voicemail over on the show notes for this episode at raisinglifelonglearners.com/episode 128. I can't wait to talk to you next week when I share another great episode. And in the meantime, I'd love it if you have time to pop over to iTunes, leave a rating or review. It really helps get the word out about the podcast and help other parents who need it find it. Also, I'd be so grateful if you would share this episode or any episode of the podcast with a friend, a homeschool mama you know, or anyone who you think could benefit from hearing some of these conversations. I really appreciate it and truly want to help as many homeschool mamas of differently wired kiddos as possible. All right, I will see you next week. Enjoy your kiddos this week. Go on lots of adventures. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.